Alright, less than 1 week away from the Eagles game in Brazil, we have a couple concerns rising. However, just how big of a deal are they actually? Plus, the Birds are going with a new look. And Philly shared the official team captains, but no, that's not a reason to be concerned about Smitty not being one. Meanwhile, how big of an impact could new defensive tackle Byron Young make on the roster? And Howie made another signing for a corner with versatility. As well as the Eagles appear to have released the depth chart, but could Nakobe Dean end up starting over Devin White? Let's talk about it, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Let me just start by congratulating user MW7IE3CI6Y, otherwise known as Marvin McFarland. So you won this, assuming, Marvin, you're an actual person. And if you are, I'll be shipping that bad boy your way. And you can enjoy showing it off to all your jealous friends that you have a signed piece of memorabilia from a GOAT Eagles running back. Oh yeah, speaking of helmets, if you missed out on this giveaway, then make sure to get in on the next one, which I'll be giving away this Isaiah Rodgers signed helmet as soon as the channel hits 75,000 subscribers. Now, having said that, while the Eagles haven't gone with that white option yet, they did surprise most everyone by electing to go with a new look for Brazil, as they'll be donning a full-on black and white approach, with an all-black helmet combined with white jerseys, black pants, and white socks. Of course, you may be asking, haven't the Birds worn black helmets before? And they have, just not with the no-green approach, where the home-away-from-home opener will mark the first time in franchise history that Philly mixes in this type of combo. I will say, personally, I think it's a pretty sick combo. Although naturally, there's a few that aren't fans of the kits. Yet no matter how you feel, think about it this way. It might just be smart to not mess around and play with some of the superstitions. By the way, in case you're not as familiar with the whole not wearing green superstitions, the Eagles are playing in Sao Paulo, which is where the home club of Corinthians resides. On the other hand, the arch nemesis Palmeiras wears green. Therefore, it's incredibly frowned upon for fans to wear green when attending Corinthians games at Corinthians Arena, in the city's attempt to cut down on violence and hooliganism. Another case in point for green not being as friendly of a color is that back in 2021, Corinthians striker Joe was fined for wearing cleats that looked slightly green, as that understandably received some backlash from diehard fans. However, for the people freaking out, let's maybe chill a little bit. After all, the same arena where the Eagles and Packers will play hosted the opening ceremony for the World Cup in 2014, where, yeah, as you might expect, quite a bit of green was present in the stadium. So again, this doesn't apply to the Eagles, yet yes, I understand there's a little bit of superstition around the color green.
The code.
Look, call it whatever you want, but I'm choosing to believe that the Eagles, knowing the Corinthians' home colors of black and white, are just trying to win over some fans, especially after Green Bay released their all-white uniforms, because it's not like Philly couldn't have gone with all blacks and then let the Pack go with all white. Except now, the Packers announced they will be wearing green, meaning it might be harder for them to get any affection.
It smells like mushrooms and everyone looks like they want to hurt me.
For real though, I'm just trying to make a joke of this, and I understand it's very hard to believe, especially in this day of misinformation. Because I feel like I've seen half as many people scared and terrified and half as many saying it's no big deal, which the anxiety probably only increased after CJ Gardner-Johnson took to Twitter to ask, is it even safe to play there? Now, for context, this was coming in a response to the report of wildfires in up to 30 cities around Sao Paulo, leading to the city itself being engulfed in smoke and putting into question the air quality for the athletes on the field. Of course, at the time of this recording, everyone is being assured that there's nothing to worry about and the game will go on as planned.
It's over. We are screwed.
Again, it's hard to know where the truth is. Plus, if you thought that was crazy, let's add to it with Brazil's Supreme Court just ordering a suspension of X due to non-compliance with local laws, amidst a feud with Elon Musk over content moderation. And no, I'm not going to get into political ramifications of this. However, I will say it's going to be strange to not get any updates from beat reporters on X before the game, during the game, or even afterward. Little shameless plug though, we will be live streaming the whole thing as well as keeping you updated throughout the course of the game, so feel free to swing by. Okay, on the topic of this whole situation, how do you guys feel about it? What am I missing? And also, I'm very much open to anything that I didn't cover. Yet either way, let's just say AJ and Smitty are treating it very businesslike.
What are your thoughts on playing in Brazil, going this great distance to play a game?
No comment.
Really? Not excited? You're not?
It's football. Just line up.
We had a meeting yesterday, and it was like a whole bunch of don't do's, and so I'm just trying to go down there, win a football game, and come back home. That's the best way I can put it.
Remember that with
Yeah. It's me talking to him and asking a lot of questions. That was my first initial thought. But after hearing all this stuff, I'm probably gonna be in my room. You just gotta put all that into a factor and just try to navigate through that the best way you can. And ultimately, what we down there to do. We down there to win a football game.
What were you told not to do?
We're not down there to see the city, do all this other stuff. This is not a vacation. This is it's a football game.
Like the captain referenced, it's a business trip, and I do believe that we take care of business, but I'll talk about more of that in a future video. By the way, the official team captains were announced as voted on by the team, with it being Lane Johnson, Jalen Hurts, Brandon Graham, Jordan Mailata, a first-time team captain, Jake Elliott, A.J. Brown, and Slay. So congrats to them, and I definitely don't mind seeing them lead the squad. Of course, yeah, Smitty didn't end up getting the captain spot this year despite winning it last year, but I wouldn't be concerned about it. Like maybe since it's voted on by the players, they're just other guys who are more vocal in the locker room. I don't know, but Smitty's the ultimate team player, so I can guarantee you he isn't worried about it or it's not going to affect him at all. Granted, I would have personally liked to see CJ or maybe even Devin White also being a captain on defense, but that's still a solid group. And honestly, the main hope is that that side of the ball plays with an intensity and fire we didn't see last season. But regardless, at least it's not like things in Dallas.
What do you need to see for Dak Prescott to give him a new contract?
Well, you could easily say, if you hadn't seen it by now, you haven't seen it. And so I'm such a fan of Dak's and appreciate all of the great things that we all know that he's there. And I appreciate his work ethic probably more than anything out here. And I can't tell you how proud I am that we've got him this year to start this campaign. Needing to see, I just gave an explanation of where when you look at a situation, you've also got to weigh, okay, what are the consequences of the other side of the coin? And so Dak's situation right now, for me, from my mirror, has more to do with our situation than it does with the merits of Dak Prescott being quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Say what some people will about Jalen Hurts and his leadership or his relationship with the front office or anything like that, but could you ever see Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie coming out and speaking about QB1 in that way? Well, no, you really couldn't, which is why the Eagles were recently voted as the best-run franchise in the NFL according to agents, with one agent saying every year free agents want to go there. They reward players and Howie nails the draft. They're an organized group with football and front office business. Every year they're on top of their game. At the same time, I hear you that we're still waiting on a couple of those draft picks to pan out and Howie's not hit everything, but still, if you look at it in terms of the organization squad, one takes care of business and the other one absolutely does not. Like, I can't blame Dak Prescott for feeling this way about his owner.
I stopped, honestly, listening to things that he says to the media a long time ago. So, it doesn't really hold weight with me.
You don't need a deal done before the season?
I don't need no.
Would you like it done before the season?
I think it says a lot if it is or if it isn't. But however, doesn't really matter to me, to be honest with you.
What does it say if it isn't?
Just how people feel.
Dak's days are most likely numbered, which at this point I feel like we'll see Dak going to Las Vegas next year. But speaking of Vegas, the Eagles recently took advantage of the Raiders releasing defensive tackle Byron Young, as Young had actually had a promising camp, leaving several beat writers surprised by the news. And naturally, Howie was there to swoop in and claim the second-year player. FYI, in case you're not as familiar with Young, he's a former third-round pick out of Alabama in the 2023 draft, who the Raiders ended up playing in 6 games while he collected 4 tackles. Yeah, not great. Now, it is worth pointing out that even in those 6 games, he only amounted playing 99 total snaps on defense. So it's not like he was given ample time to prove anything. But the fact that he was a beast at Bama, earning first-team All-SEC honors and being named a second-team All-American in his senior year is definitely worth seeing if he has some untapped potential. And who better than that with Vic Fangio? After all, he helped both Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer have career seasons in Miami. And he's done the same with a couple other DTs. Plus, let's not forget the impact of new D-line coach Clint Hunt on the big guys up front. At the same time, Young's going to be like the 4th or 5th option. Yet having a guy who's comfortable in odd man fronts and started to show a bit better improvement this preseason is 100% worth the risk to claim him. By the way, the corresponding roster move to that acquisition was the Eagles releasing Marlon Tuipulotu, so definitely wish him the best, and who knows, maybe we see him again. Anyway, how y'all feeling about the move for Young? Let me know in the comments. Of course, that wasn't all, because Howie's making sure to maximize the roster with more moves, as the Birds also signed another low-risk, high-reward player in the defensive back J.T. Woods to the practice squad. And I'll fill you in if you're not up to him, because first off, he's a Baylor guy, so yeah, maybe I'm a little bit biased. But JT tied for the FBS lead in his final season with 6 interceptions, while also posting a 4.36 40 at the Combine in 2022 at an impressive size of 6'2", 195. Now, unfortunately, the downside has been his tackling, which was really rough in LA. Plus, he spent a lot of time on the non-football injury list last season while missing a lot of games. So hopefully he's all right, but again, you're trying to fill out your practice squad and you talk about athleticism, a guy who has some potential. If he ends up hitting, great, and if not, no big deal. It's not that big of a risk. But like my guy Anthony said, there are 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and Howie Roseman giving former high draft picks a second chance.
Fool me once, strike 1. But fool me twice, strike 3.
Speaking of those second chances, though, James Bradberry doesn't appear to be getting one anytime soon, despite initially making the 53-man roster, as it was reported a few days ago that he suffered a lower body injury in practice and will now be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. No, I don't think that he faked anything, and prayers that JB ends up healing up soon. Now, having said that, though, this isn't a major injury or a big blow to the roster, because JB is not your answer at safety, in my personal opinion. Like, obviously, the hope is that both CJ and Reed stay healthy, and then you can add in Sidney Brown, but I might have put Tristan McCollum ahead of JB in terms of the depth chart anyway. So really, the biggest blow is just the potential of trade value, because there were several reports of teams actually being interested or possibility of trading, in particular with the Tennessee Titans, and of course, obviously, that's now dead. Anyway, at least Sidney Brown is looking promising. Even though he technically won't be back until after the bye week, he's no doubt going to play a bigger role for this squad. I mean, I'm not wishing injuries on anybody, but with the way that our safeties play, I think it'd be crazy to think we won't need some depth during the course of the season. And sure, injuries are a big what-if everywhere. But if Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, he's got the group to put up crazy numbers, with the Eagles having the biggest O-line in the NFL. So sprinkle in the addition of Saquon Barkley in the backfield, and the question is, what happens when an immovable force pairs with an unstoppable object? Which is what I had to make sure Justin Pugh knew.
Saquon Barkley, he's got to be, or he is, he's already said it, but he's got to be super excited and amped about it, right? Because he's played behind not the
Don't take
greatest.
shots
No
at that,
offense,
who
no
he played
offense, Justin. I'm so
behind.
sorry.
Come
I'm sorry. but I'm just saying. I mean, come on, keeping it real. So
I don't know, man. We don't have to flash my career stats and Mekhi Becton's and see. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying. You're taking Mekhi Becton shots at me. Damn. I was almost. The Cowboys fans started talking about Trey Lance we had to put the kibosh on that. I might have to look, Mekhi Becton, you've been a great player, but you guys still go. I need 8 more years out of you before we start having this conversation. You versus
that's
me.
fair. He's got to prove it. He's got to prove it.
Come
But
on,
I'm trusting
Josh.
still. I'm sorry,
giving the guy
Josh.
the keys
I know.
to the
He's got the
My
resume,
ego.
right?
Shout out to Justin for having us on. By the way, for those interested, I've got a link in the description if you want to check out the full podcast. Also, to clarify, I do agree with Justin that we don't know if Mekhi Becton will be ready. It's just more so trusting Jeff Stoutland's resume to keep this O-line dominant. Oh yeah, just in terms of numbers and record keeping, Jahan Dotson has officially changed his number to 83, in case anyone was curious. Plus, in terms of the Week 1 depth chart, granted compiled by the Eagles communication department, Zach Vaughn is starting at will. Although there's Devin White and Nakobe Dean sharing the spot at the Mike position. But come on, there's no way Nakobe's actually beating out Devin White for that second spot, is there? I mean, I don't believe that. However, the Inquirer's Jeff McLane had stated previously to not be surprised if Nakobe starts over Devin White since he outplayed him this preseason. Which, fine, we can argue whether he did or not. And I'll give it to you, Nakobe played good, but he also played against a lot of third-string guys. Plus, Devin White basically never ceded his first-team reps to Nakobe in practice, which is why, personally, I can't buy into the fact of Dean usurping Devin White for the starting spot. Anyway, getting back to the depth chart, though, it appears that Isaiah Rodgers is locked into the starting spot opposite of Slay. With Quinyon Mitchell starting out in the nickel, again, like Fangio even stated in the past, this isn't a long-term deal for Q. But in order to get the best lineup on the field, this situation makes a lot of sense. And then for punt returner, it'll be Britton Covey, not really a surprise, and kick returners are Zay and Kenny Gainwell. Yeah, like I said, this is not a 100% guarantee, especially because the communications department is the one who compiled this, but having seen that and kind of over the course of time, this thing has been pieced together. So I feel like this is a fairly accurate representation, but I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments, thoughts on this, the Brazil game, everything else. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.